welcome to Quarantine Art Chats. Today I'm chatting with the very talented classical ballet dancer Amy Harris. I've been following Amy's beautiful career on Instagram for a few years. Amy is a principal artist for the Australian Ballet based in Melbourne, Victoria. She's been seen performing in Alice in Wonderland, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, The Nutcracker and many more. Amy gracefully is featured in shoots for Vogue magazine, Marie Claire, Cosmo Bride, just to name a few. So thank you so much for joining us today, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
It's really nice to have you on board. So firstly, how are you and your family coping, and are you all safe and well? I know we touched on this before, but how are you guys getting on with COVID?
Oh, look, we are fine. We've got our health and we have each other. So that's, more than we can really ask for. And I think, it's a really precious time when you've got a young family. Both Jared and myself being dancers with the Australian Ballet, it's a full-on hectic schedule. We call ourselves the travelling circus a lot of the time. As we're on the road, or we are here in Melbourne where we're based, and we're performing 6 days a week. And more often than not, Wednesdays bring a two-show kind of day, and so does Saturday. So it's, it gets to Sunday and there's that precious time with your family. And of course, right now we have all of that time back every day with both our kids, Willow and Phoenix. And we're doing well. We're surviving. We have our days where it feels a bit groundhoggy, or we're a bit like, what do we do today? But it's been okay, and Jared and I have been somewhat able to continue the very basics of what we need to still feel somewhat like ballet dancers. But very fortunate that we've been able to continue that and have online classes, and of course at some point seeing some of our colleagues through a screen, but it kind of fills your cup. So we're doing well in this time, and I think both Jared and I do sit down quite a lot and look at each other, and like we've got each other, and we've got our kids, and we've got more than we really need. And we can sit and dwell about, what's happening around the world, and kind of, not being on stage each night and not being able to do our job at, 110% kind of capacity. But we figured that it's out of our control, and what we can control is, doing our bit and staying safe and staying at home. But also then just lapping up this time that we have with the kids. So it's taught us to kind of stop and slow down and just appreciate what's right there in front of us.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, they've the idea of working from home was quite a dread with having kids running around. But for most people I've talked to, they've sort of said to me, like, we thought it was going to be really hard, but actually they've been able to just stop what they were doing for a few minutes and give their kids more attention and time, and they've just felt so much more happier than actually being away from home. And although, like you say, it can get a bit groundhog after so many months of being at home, I think there is that sense of, it's not going to last forever, and making the most of the time that we've got with our family, and really putting that quality there that maybe isn't going to be there quite as much down the track.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. And you kind of see them right in front of your eyes, just growing up so quickly. Like, I honestly can't believe Willow's 5.5 and Phoenix is already 1. Like, I think, where has that time gone? So yeah, I think you're right. And it's a juggle. Like even if COVID hadn't happened, it's such a big juggle anyway. Every family has their the logistics of how things are going to work, and the drop off here, there and everywhere. And but I think that's what's been the good thing, is just kind of going, I have to do 2 hours here and I have to do that half an hour there, and it kind of plan out your day. We took up online schooling, of course, like everybody else. It was like the blind leading the blind for a little while. But, we found our groove, and I think it's been a great thing. It's like, we kind of, I think at first we kind of thought, we can't do this.
Mm.
You know, once Willow kind of got into her groove as well and was like, well, mum and dad are going to be my teacher for a little bit. We just did it. It happened. Then, you know, she went and played with Lego. Phoenix fell asleep and we would do our online class and it kind of worked. And those days that it didn't, you just kind of had to go, it's okay.
Mm.
Tomorrow's a new day. We'll
Yeah.
pick up, you know, and it's quite funny. We did say we should do a video of how it does all work. You know, we're just about to wrap up the end of class. Phoenix wakes up or he's got a pooey nappy or something. And one person does the exercise, the other person changes the nappy, then we switch and then we feed them, or, you know, it's quite crazy. It would be quite comic relief, I think. But yeah, it like you said, it's been amazing to have this time back. And we certainly haven't taken it for granted because sooner, you know, or soon, hopefully, we're going to be, you know, back performing. We'll be back on the road, and it'll be crazy, and we'll be on that kind of crazy wheel again. So, yeah, we're stopping and we've slowed down, and we're taking it all in and holding on tight to it.
For those who aren't acquainted with your creative profession, can you just give us a bit of a rundown on your work?
So I am a principal artist with the Australian Ballet, and I am in my 19th year, crazy, with them. I'm also married to a dancer, Jared Madden, who's a senior artist there. And we met, my God, I don't even remember now. Isn't that bad? It's like putting numbers and it all kind of starts to blend 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And we were actually paired together. How like crazy and corny is that? But we were paired together for and yeah, we just became really great friends. And so we met there at the ballet. Our paths crossed and here we are with two beautiful kids. Yeah, I went through the ballet school as well before then. I did my 3 years at the ballet school full time and I graduated and of course gained a place in the company, and that's where I've been ever since. I've taken a scholarship overseas and just kind of, you know, gone into different companies that I suppose I've held in quite a high kind of regard since I was a little girl. And so it was amazing to go over there and kind of see how they work in class and some rehearsals, and then see them perform, of course, in many different theatres. But I've never been in any other company. I've just stayed here in Melbourne with the Australian Ballet. So
It's a beautiful city, and it's a great place to be as a creative. Like I said, I used to work in medical while I lived there, but every day I would pass the art centre,
yeah,
and then probably 2-3 days out of the week I'd get off the tram and have a little wander all around the art centre and all around South Bank there, and I just loved it. It just filled me up with so much creative energy that I think I'm still living off that now.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing, isn't it? And I mean, people often ask, you know, what's your most favourite theatre in the world? And I think we are so spoiled here in Melbourne at the Art Centre. There's nothing quite like that big curtain and the red velvety seats, and the stage is really big. And I mean, I know it's my hometown as such, but there's just something about the energy that happens, you know, each night when we do a performance there, and just like just looking out, it's quite incredible. And of course, we've been very lucky to tour and go to, you know, London and Japan, China. We've been kind of, you know, New York and stuff like that. But then you always return and you're like, wow, we're pretty lucky here. Like it's quite an incredible space. So I think it's probably still actually probably my top place to perform.
With COVID, how have you sort of met those challenges that you've been facing with your work? Obviously, you can't go into the studio anymore. How have you met those challenges at home?
So, fortunately, we had just started our vault season here in Melbourne, and
Yeah.
we got to do 3 pretty incredible shows. And of course, I had just come back to the stage, so I had just done a whole big rehab after Phoenix, and I got to do 3 shows. And then on Monday, it was very touch and go as to what was going on. And of course, as the day kind of hours unfolded, it's a no go. We have postponed the vault season in Melbourne, and we will just be coming in each day to the ballet centre. And then, of course, everything kind of escalated quite quickly, and I think the following Monday was, we have now got you all up and running. We're going to be going live every day. You have to go home, stay there, and we'll do it in our lounge rooms, holding on to kitchen bench, chair, whatever, in your spaces. So it got to that kind of a week later, I think it was, and the Tuesday when it was like lockdown was happening, and they were incredible. Like in a couple of days, they just managed to put together, a program and kind of a timetable as to what was going on. And of course, as a daily class for a dancer is so important, and it sets you up for the whole day. But of course, we didn't have that whole day. We only had class, so they were doing an hour and a half class, and they also put some Pilates. You could do Pilates just before you started, so you could tune into that as well. There were some gym sessions, and each individual kind of dancer has their own, I guess, their own kind of routines. So it was a matter of just what you got at home. You strap that TheraBand onto the leg of your bed, and you try and do, your exercises that way. We fortunately, Jared and I, went back to the country to be with my mum, because she was here with us while we were doing Vault, looking after Willow and Phoenix. So we thought, we're going to escape. We need to get away and just all be together and lock ourselves down. And, we can all kind of help each other through this period. And fortunately, but unfortunately, my sister has a dance school in Ararat, where I grew up. And so that space was not being used. And so she allowed Jared and I to go down into that space. So for the first nearly 4 weeks, Jared and I had a ballet bar. We had a floor to dance on. We had space to actually do what we wanted to do. Whereas others were in a tiny 1-bedroom studio apartment, and they only had, this tiny space. I have to say, like, the challenges that you asked about for me personally was in the first week, because I just built myself up to return, after Phoenix, and I got back on stage and I was looking at down the barrel at this year, and there was some amazing works that I haven't even done in my career. And so I was like excited for that. And of course, just excited to get back, because it's not easy to kind of get back, after one kid, but let alone two, and then, kind of the logistics of how it all works. So I found the first week really challenging. I just was so disheartened. I have to be honest. I just was like, in my head, I was like, what is the point? What is the point? I've just done all of this. And like now, we're back to square one. I'm just doing a ballet class. Like I want to be rehearsing, because I wanted to start rehearsing Anna, and, and I want to be back in with my colleagues. I've just had a year away from them, and just the energy is so different, of course, when you've got a screen in front of you. But then I let myself feel all of that, and then I got over myself and realized that, I was lucky that I had Jared with me, and, someone right there that fully understood what we were going through and what's kind of being taken away. And obviously that there were going to be ups and downs throughout that period. And of course, I think we were all very unsure as to how long it's going to last. And initially I thought, well, maybe I was just being really optimistic, and I was like, it's going to be a couple of months, and then we'll slowly start to just, build, and we'll get back in. And here we are mid-July, and still, have our challenges. But I think that initially was hard. And there are days where I kind of spoke about just briefly before about, some days just happen, and then other days it's just like, I just can't, like, there's so much to juggle right now, and I just can't do this. And it's gotten to kind of medium allegro, or not even medium allegro, because we're hardly even doing that, but like the start of jumps. So you're towards the end of class, and that's when everyone's been having to be quiet for an hour, and so we just close the laptop, and we're like, that's today done, and we just have to breathe, and we just go outside and walk around the block, Willow on her bike, or whatever. So the first week was hard, and then I think we got to about maybe the 5th week, and I had another bit of a downer. But I think just allowing yourself to just kind of feel all those kind of feelings and the frustration and all of that, and knowing that I wasn't alone, because Jared went through a few days where he was just like, oh God, and just obviously talking to people as well. They were like, I found today really hard, and or just this has been really challenging for me, or my body just feels a bit, because obviously there's that adapting as well, and different floors, and just trying to make do with what you've got when, you know, we're just so used to go, go, go for 6 days a week. But I think it's funny, a couple of days ago, someone posted, I'd do anything for a double show day today, when most of the time a double show day is like absolute killer.
Killer,
You
yeah.
know, stuff like that, that you have to kind of go, you know, like, and it's like, you know, you're talking about a big Sydney season, and it's been like 6 weeks, and you got one more week to go, and you get to that Saturday, and it's like you've done a show every single day, two on a Wednesday, and you get to that Saturday, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore. And, you know, everyone has days like that.
Yeah.
But I had to have a laugh, and it made us all kind of go, oh my God, that's so true, that, you know,
Yeah.
I'd kill for a double show day today, when other days it'd be like, no double show days.
Yeah. That's funny. I love being in the water. I'm an absolute water baby. Anywhere where there's water, I'm there.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't that long ago, I went for a bit of a swim because we didn't have the closed beaches or anything here. And Perth is, I hate to say it, it's sunny all year round. Sorry, Melbourne, but we have amazing weather. So I was having a bit of a swim, and I thought, you know what we're going through at the moment is very much like being on the water. It's just bobbing up and down. You have days where you just, this is amazing. I don't have anything I have to do, no responsibility. It's great. And then the next minute, it's just like a bit of a downer, and it's a bit like, I want my life back. I want things to go back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, you're not getting that stimulation. You're not having the people around you. But I think it's just a matter of riding those waves, sort of, you know, go through those times and keep focused on the end of it, which we don't know when it's going to be, but it will happen.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
What's going on? I know everyone sort of had to take a bit of a different approach to this, but I think it'd be really helpful for other mums and dads to think about the way other parents are, I don't know, having that conversation with their children, because it's such a unique situation. How have you guys gone about sort of educating or explaining to your children what all the changes are about and what's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, for Willow, she's quite curious about things, and, you know, I mean, we don't have the news on every single day. I personally feel like it gets a little bit too overwhelming, and panic kind of sets in, my anxiety. So we have it on every couple of days, or we just go online and read. So she's kind of clued into what's going on, and of course said what's happening, and the question of why are we home so much, because she's never had that. Phoenix is not so much the worry, because obviously he's only one. But then, of course, for Willow, she just started school, and she didn't even make it to the end of first term before COVID hit. So we had to explain then that there was a bad virus around, and that, you know, we were going to do all we could to keep all of our friends and family safe. But what had to happen was schools had to close because there are a lot of germs. Kind of explained everything's dirty, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's tough for kids because that social distancing, I mean, even for myself, to be perfectly honest, we're such like, well, in our family, of course, but in the arts as well, it's such a tight-knit group, and hugs, kisses, all of that are just not something that you give a second thought to. And so that's been a really hard thing to kind of switch. And I was saying to Jared the other day, I'm like, wow, I just feel like a really cold person, because you have distance between everybody. You can't touch people, and you know, you can't be up close and personal, have those conversations. So it's been a really hard switch for us, probably more so than kids. But then she returned to school, and of course there was no social distancing for children, which of course brought us, I suppose, some worry in terms of, you know, everyone was entitled to see their 5 visitors, but then you think about how that then goes, and that worry kind of set in of, you know, who are her friends seeing and who are their families seeing. But we just reminded her that, you know, at home is the same as at school. We have to be very careful, washing our hands properly, and, you know, not to drink out of other people's drinks and all of that kind of thing. We have not taken them to the supermarket, and, you know, we're not going out and about. Play centres obviously closed, but so they really haven't been doing too much since March. We have seen family in that small bracket that we were allowed to, which was really nice, and I think filled us. And now it's hard, of course, because it's gone back to not being able to do that. But I think just generally she's very aware of not so much the deaths that can happen, we think that's a little bit too much for her to take on, but just that it can make people very, very sick.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, that while we're very lucky in Australia, there are a lot of people around the world that are not so lucky. And so we have to do our part, they have to do theirs, and just being mindful of that. But it's also that thing of just keeping her really busy and trying to give her that, you know, that not normal, but, you know, that 5-year-old kind of lifestyle, and keep continuing with some schooling. And she had a little Zoom date with her daycare friends, because we haven't seen them for so long, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's technology, but unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to have to be, I think, for, you know, continuing on. And so we're allowing her to just jump on and just chat to her friends, obviously, with us there. And you do see that it changes her mood a little bit, you know. And she'll have moments where she's like, I really miss him. I just want to play date. But then she understands, and they kind of say, once COVID's over, or once. um, so yeah, I think it's a matter of making her aware of the small things that she can do to keep herself safe, and us, and, you know, her friends and loved ones, but not so much that it's so overwhelming and there's a real worry there for a 5.5-year-old.
Yep, yep. I'm so I admire parents so much at the moment who just have such a huge, I don't know, burden to carry, in the sense that they need to protect their family, but also educate, but not too much. There's a very fine line. And then also all the time that's needed for schooling and all that sort of thing. I'm just like, wow, I have so many friends that are such amazing parents. I'm just taking a leaf out of everyone's book at the moment.
Well, I think the good thing is too, though, like the school that she's at, and I'm sure it has happened actually everywhere. They're very aware that, you know, we're not qualified in that area at all. Like, I've been out of school 20 plus years, so and it's very, very different. So I think they're well aware, and they've made us feel that it's not going to be the same as, you know, what they do from 8:30 to 3 o'clock in the day. And if they can just do this and this, and you continue to just read and you know, just encourage. And it's that funny thing of like, I love to bake. It's kind of really therapeutic to me, and it just kind of takes me away. And Willow will join in with me now, which I absolutely love. And within that, you're already doing, you know, like maths and measurements. And before you know it, you've actually incorporated kind of reading and writing and all this kind of creativity within your day without even really realizing. So I think it's like, once we realized that and took that pressure off, that, oh my God, we've got to do this, and we've got to tick everything off and make sure that, you know, every page is done and completed. And, you know, being mindful that she can't just flick a switch and go, mum and dad are teachers. We're still mum and dad to her. So we just gradually did what we could, and we eased her in. And then it was just kind of like, wow, we've actually done a lot more than what we thought, you know, we had set out for the day, because we've done this and that, and baking and Lego and all that kind of stuff. So I think you have to take the pressure off yourself, because, you know, I'm not qualified in any way.
Well,
Any shape.
I remember from growing up as I was never an academic person, really. I don't remember a lot of what I learnt at school pre-teen years. But I do remember the same sort of thing, being with mum in the kitchen, helping her bake, learning about measurements, watching my dad fix the car, and he'd tell me all these things, or the computer. And I remember those things. I remember that quality time, that one-on-one time with my parents, and the things they taught me well over what I learnt at school.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And so I think you're right there. Like, parents just need to realize that, you know, every day brings a lot of learning and creativity. And I mean, you know, even the fact that she said the other day, Mama, I want to turn on and do yoga. And yes, it's on YouTube, but just like, it's yoga all together. And like, all right, let's give it a go. So there's always that kind of stuff. We're out on the bikes, you know, might just be on the nature strip out the front, but we're doing as much as we can. And she still seems like she's, you know, she's learning and she's thriving, and she's wanting to do this, that, and the other, and currently just outside painting rocks. So she's creative, you know, and we're not too worried. And I think the thing is, it's the biggest thing, I think, probably for Jared and I, in terms of it being so broken up throughout this year, is just the social aspect for her more so than worrying about her going, oh my God, she must do this and she must do that. We're continuing to do stuff online because that's what they do at the school. But I feel for her in that kind of social aspect that she doesn't have these little friends with her every day, and she loves and adores them. So it's kind of that, once or twice a week where we can get on and chat to them on Zoom meetings.
Yeah. It's not the same. I'm a real introvert, so I can go quite long periods with just my own company, and then I can do like a big bash with all my friends and then retreat back into my little shell again. But I have to say, even here, we only had really maybe 3-4 weeks tops of being recommended to stay indoors. We weren't on a full lockdown like you guys, and I think after week 2 I was going absolutely stir crazy. And it was the little things, like you say, like I didn't realize how much I love to hug and kiss people and, actually like physically be in the room with someone. I didn't realize how important that was to me until it was taken away. And now, like,
isn't it? Like it's those things that really make you go, wow, like I did take that for granted, or not necessarily for granted, but I just, every day, 6 days a week, I see my friends, and, it's what it is. I mean, I had my best friend just retire from the company, and we've been in each other's pockets for 20 something years. And I never took her for granted. She's a rare gem. And now we don't see each other every day. And now, of course, it's like, oh, okay, I'll have my mid-year break, or I'll have my end-of-year summer break, but I may not be able to go to Queensland, and she may not be able to come here. When is the next time I'm actually going to physically see her? So I agree with you. You can go so long, but you need that physical kind of touch and interaction. Yeah.
All right, I'll ask the last question. So overall, what have you been able to take away from this experience? We've touched on that a little bit. And what advice would you give to other dancers at this time?
Oh, it's a tough one, giving advice to other dancers. I am in like kind of the program with the graduates of the Australian Ballet School. And of course, for them, it's tough. You get into that final year of the ballet school, and it's such an amazing year. You have performances to look forward to. And of course, the anticipation and kind of that, I suppose, stress of what's going to happen at the end. Will I be staying here in Melbourne and becoming a member of the Australian Ballet, or will I be venturing overseas and then something will bring me back, and all of that kind of crazy. And the poor things, of course, are just like devastated because, month by month, it's, that's not going to happen now. And then so they hang on to, and so they should hang on to the fact that the regional tour would happen. And then, and I think the company have been amazing in terms of not just wiping the whole year clear. We've just waited, and, we've tried to keep everyone in the loop, and not just the dancers, but patrons and donors and all of that kind of thing. And just to kind of say, we're hoping for this kind of outcome. And if it doesn't happen, then there'll be an announcement. But then that's just being cancelled for them. And, they're looking down the barrel of the next, well, not even 6 months, are we? Because it's like July now. And they're graduating year, and what's going to happen, because yes, here in Australia, we're in a better position than what Europe and kind of like America is. But they haven't been able to perform or do anything. And so, long story short, I'm mentoring them in this program, and tried to keep in touch with them as much as we can. And we had a Zoom date to first meet, and I said to them, I'm not trying to understand how you feel right now, because I got to graduate and do those things that everyone looked forward to, and a kind of the layout of the year hasn't changed in 20 years. So I know what you look forward to in that 1 year as a graduate. But I just said, it's out of your control. And I know that, it's going to be a tough year, but they just have to use their, I suppose, not the resources, but just use the teachers and the staff that they have, and people like me to just chat when things are going you know, it's tough. Like everything just stopped and they were offered just online classes, just like us, and they were on their own and they were kind of like, what do we do now? So I think it's just a matter of just keep talking. And like we've just said previously, there is going to be an end point. And for them, maybe it's going to just be a little different, unfortunately, heading into next year, when they thought that they would be taking a place up mid-January as a new member of the company. And who knows what's really going to happen. But I think it's just keeping on talking, you know, within the ballet arts community, and we're all feeling it together. I think I said to them, and this is probably the one piece of advice, is just like, you're not alone, you know, and that's the biggest thing in all of this, that we're not alone. And I mean, I know I can quite easily say that because I have Jared here who really fully understands, but when they've been talking to me, it's like, oh, it's nice to talk to you because you understand our world and what's been taken away. So I think just stay strong, and you know, we're going to get through this. I think you have to be a bit of a tough nut to be in the arts world, to be perfectly honest with you. I think you have to be a bit of a toughie, and it's not all smooth sailing. There's, you know, even if you're the person that's doing every single role, you know, lead role, an injury can happen. So there's always hurdles within, and I'm purely just talking about the ballet kind of arts world. There's always something that's going to test you and, you know, kind of really push those buttons. But I think that's just it. Stay strong and just talk it out with fellow kind of colleagues and students, and we'll get through it. Stronger and better than ever is going to be us in 2021. I really think everyone's going to come out of the gates like I hope.
Thank you so much for having a chat with me today, Amy. It's been really, really lovely to just get to know about your world and what's going on with you. Before I go, I just wanted to just let everyone know there's no ticket sales obviously happening with the Australian Ballet at the moment. There's no theatres and no theatre groups happening, at least for the foreseeable future. So if it's possible, please donate to the Australian Ballet. It goes a really long way, even if it's just a small amount, and helps our ballet dancers keep going, so that when this is over, we can be at the ballet and see all you beautiful people and what you do.
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways. Like, I know that audiences are really missing us, but we're also really missing them. I mean, there's nothing quite like, and I think that's what makes, you know, my next life so much harder, is there's nothing quite like being on stage and that satisfaction and that real high that you get. So we're missing all of you as well, and you know, we will get back there, and it'll be quite a celebration.
Certainly will be, and as soon as we can travel,
yes,
the ballet's open, we will be there. It will be one of the highlights of my life for sure.
Excellent.
So lovely to talk to you, Amy. You guys take care and look after